an information section to explain how these groups work on Tuesday night, July 21st. The first group is meeting every other week on Thursdays. The next group that we'll be launching will be meeting every other week on Tuesday. So if you're interested in potentially joining a group, if you want to learn how it works, what we're going to try to do, please join us at 6 o'clock on July 21st. And we would hope to launch that group either the following Tuesday, July 28th, or certainly by Tuesday, August 4th. So that's a little bit of the background. So before I get into the business model canvas, let me just talk a little bit about some of the key themes that I made in the first talk and why I really think business model canvas can be extremely helpful at this time. Last month, my main theme was that we all had to recognize that this was not really a crisis. When I first started talking to business owners about 90 days ago, about March 15th, I started talking about that I thought we were in a crisis. I was thinking that there were things that I could share about how it was to run a company through 9/11 and the economic meltdown of 2009. I did run companies in both of those times. But I quickly realized when people started asking me questions that there actually was very little that I could build on from those experiences. And I've started talking about this, that we are actually in chaos. This is not a crisis. Everything in our lives has been disrupted in the last 90 days. Our family lives, our home lives, our business lives, our healthcare, education, the way we entertain, the way we gather, and certainly very much our businesses. So it's very scary in a time of chaos, but it also is a time of incredible opportunity. When there's chaos, and which I think at this time, absolutely no one knows for sure how anything is going to be 30 days, 60, 90, 120 days from now. And because of that, it really means that there are no obviously wrong answers, that this is a time that you really have to use your intuition, your feelings, which I think women are fantastically more capable of feeling what's going on in the world, using the intuition of really what is going to happen. What are the things that are going to change forever? At this stage, I imagine you, as business owners, you've gone through, hopefully, at least into a second stage, and are beginning to talk about a third stage. And what I've sort of kind of came to understand was the first stage was really just being sure that you could survive. Making sure you understood how much money you had, applying for the PPP loans, making sure that you're collecting any money you can, negotiating with your landlord, negotiating with credit cards and banks, figuring out if you can afford to keep all your employees, figuring out if you could keep all your space. Hopefully, now that you are participating in this call, you at least have a little sense that you are going to survive, that you've got the basic kind of money situation more or less under control. The stage that I think most of us are in right now is what I call managing this crazy environment. We've started to try to figure out new ways to make money. We've actually probably innovated on how we're delivering things. But the most important thing that I believe all of us should be doing at this particular time is talking and hugging our customers. It is extremely important in this time to get as great a relationship with all your past and current customers, and even start trying to build relationships with people on how to get even stronger at that. What I like to also suggest is that just about every entrepreneur or business owner kind of has to think about going back to the very beginning. It's like we're starting from scratch again, but we have to remember that we won have the experience of the many years or months that our business existed before this chaos. And we also have the experience of what we innovated and what we have done so far to get through this. But the idea that I'd like to share with you today is that really it's a great time to just be thinking about starting your business from scratch again, really looking at everything that you're doing and asking yourself, what is going to happen going forward? What are the relationships? What is the product? What is my problem? So what we're going to start is that I'm going to introduce to you today something called the Business Model Canvas. And I teach entrepreneurship and startups at both Columbia and Hofstra. And this Business Model Canvas is the centerpiece of how we now teach startups at major universities throughout the country. Basically, what you'll see is it's a one-page document that has some pretty simple questions on it. And the concept that we use when we're teaching at business school is you scribble in the answers to the questions in the boxes, hopefully in pencil, and then you go out and you show what you want to do live to at least 10 people to get their feedback. And the principle is very much to listen to those people, tweak, think about your answers to the question. But the idea is to scribble things down and get out and talk to anyone who could help you get clearer on what you should do now. I'll be sharing that document in a second. But the very beginning is to think very clearly about what is the problem that you want your business to solve, and have also what is the problem that you yourself as a human being want to desperately solve before you leave this planet. And if you put both those things together, I personally believe that you are going to absolutely explode and thrive as we come onto the other side. So here for a second, just think about it. You have a business. What exactly is the problem that you're solving? Now, a great example of that is nobody goes into a hardware store to buy a drill. What people do is they're going into a hardware store to buy a hole in the wall. The problem that a drill solves is that somebody needs to drill a hole in the wall. So a good place to start in this time of chaos to understanding where you have to go is to be really simple about describing what is the problem you're solving. Other examples of that is that I was just bowled over by a few of my neighborhood restaurants that within 24 hours of people not being able to go in and dine, that they had come to understand that the problem and their purpose was to be a place to serve great food into the community. And if they, by understanding that that's what they were in existence to do, they very quickly understood that they had to set up for takeout. They had to set up the systems for delivery to local people. They had to set up a website to get their menu up and running. So again, as we start today, I just like to just give you like a few seconds here just to think about what is the problem that your business actually solves. I'll be quiet for about 15 seconds here where you think about it, maybe scribble, what is the problem that your business solves? And I'll be switching over to start my slides in just a few seconds. Okay, on Tenzin, are my slides coming up okay?
Yes, it is fine. Thank you.
Thank you. I also like to highlight, of course, that there's a chat box at the bottom. I'm going to ask Tenzin just to watch the chat box. And if you have questions on the different pieces of the business model canvas, please feel free to post them there. And Tenzin, please interrupt me if people start to ask questions. It'll probably take me about 20 minutes to go through all of these boxes. So certainly after we go through all of these slides, I also will be leaving at least 15, 20 minutes to also answer questions and also maybe help you figure out how you can answer the questions of the business model canvas. So just very quickly, just to share a little bit more about myself before we go onwards. One of the things, as you hear that I'm saying, is that I feel that it is so important for everyone, particularly in this crazy time, to really take some time to think about why they are on this planet. What is it that you absolutely have to do? And so I will share with you that I wake up every morning, and I've been doing this for virtually my entire adult life. And originally, my main thing that I woke up and asked myself about every single day was what I could do today to help women secure the fair share of the political and economic pie. But since the economic meltdown back in 2009, I began to also find for myself that I had a second mission, and that was very much to help someone every day start and grow a company that helps solve a problem, innovates, and creates new jobs, wealth, and opportunities. So as you can imagine, I am extremely happy to be talking to you today, and I really thank you for taking this time to listen to some of the things that I would share with you, as it makes me feel like I'm helping on this. I think if we could ask people to go on mute, we're hearing some background, please, okay? I'm just very quickly, I'm not going to talk much about myself, but I worked on Wall Street for a while. I built and sold a couple of companies, but in the last 10 years, I primarily have been teaching, speaking, and writing about all stages of entrepreneurship and women's leadership, and I've written a number of white papers, one of which is on women entrepreneurs. And certainly if you're interested in receiving that, put a post in the chat box and I'll be sure that it gets to the group. So let's just talk about this a little bit of what really is an entrepreneur. What really are you doing if you are just absolutely want to start a business and you want to make sure that you get something done? Very simply, in my mind, an entrepreneur is a person who is relentlessly pursuing the solution to a problem without regard to the resources currently controlled. I've done a lot of writing about entrepreneurs, some of them have been even very successful financially. But I will share with you, I have never interviewed a successful entrepreneur who was doing it to become rich. Entrepreneurs who are successful do it because they are driven to solve a problem. They fall in love with the problem. They don't fall in love with the business. And I think this is extremely important at this time of chaos where you may be wondering what you are going to do with your business. Again, I just encourage you to thinking about what you have to do to solve the problem that led you to build your business in the first place. It really gives you the freedom to totally rethink everything that's been a part of what you've been up to. So again, I think entrepreneurs, and you and I and all of us on this call, we are, I am sure, driven by purpose and passion. I, again, so compliment you that you are making your own life, you're making your own opportunity. I also would like to share with you that I've studied entrepreneurs in great depth, and in my opinion, entrepreneurship is actually a state of being. It's a way of living. Most people who become entrepreneurs and are driven to start their own businesses are absolutely, totally incapable of working for other people. We really are sort of a different species. I also really would like to stress that last point and share with you something that is really a fun thing to Google and find online. It's the idea that we are biased to just do something. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to be an innovator, if you're going to come out of this crazy time, there are two things that you have to get rid of. And that is, you have to get rid of the drive to be perfect. You cannot innovate in a time of chaos with feeling that everything you try has to end up well. It's impossible to innovate and get it right all the time. So again, giving up the idea of being perfect is number one. And of course, the second is giving up the fear of failure. There's no such thing as failure if you're going to be an innovator, if you're going to rethink how to come out of this. One thing that one of my favorite things that to sort of Google is something called the Cult of Done Manifesto. This is written by a man by the name of Bree Pettis. He founded the whole 3D printing movement, and it's just 14 short sentences which really sum up this kind of spirit that the whole thing of being an entrepreneur is just get out, try something, make something happen. If it doesn't work out the first time, that's part of the journey. Pick yourself up and try it again, because eventually you'll get it right. Now, again, going back to how we used to teach entrepreneurship in the old days at business schools, people used to write these really gigantic papers. They didn't try anything. They just tried to figure everything out in their head alone. And so eventually we found out this was the most ridiculous way to start a business, that a business is not an idea. A business is not a written document that sort of, theoretically describes what you're going to do. A business is getting out and getting things done. It's an idea on how to solve a problem. We also, in the old days, used to think that an innovator or somebody who was really creating something had to do it alone. That if they shared what they were doing, there was this big fear that people were going to steal their idea. And I think we now know that one person absolutely cannot create something great. That the more diversity, the more people's opinion that you have in your ideas and trying to build what you want to do will be helpful. And so at the end of the day, Business Model Canvas is a really good exercise that you can simply put down all your thoughts. It's a one-page document that makes it easy for you to share, show it to other people, ask for their opinion. And it is an incredible tool, particularly at this time when we all have to go back to asking ourselves questions. Okay, so why am I not forwarding here? Okay, what happened here? There we go. So the secret to a great company or business in my time, in my feeling, is that it actually is the idea that one should spend less time on searching for the answers and more time on asking the right questions. Again, particularly in this time of chaos, we all have to be asking questions about absolutely every aspect of our business. Asking ourselves what has changed around us, what is it that we can keep doing, what must we stop doing, and what must we start doing as we go forward. So the Business Model Canvas starts really with asking these 5 basic questions. It's also kind of fun to think about that many business owners actually start businesses and just do these things and don't really take the time for a few minutes to think about really what is the model of their business? What is it that they're putting together that's going to make it work? It's possible that none of you have actually ever really thought about your answers to these 5 basic questions. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you serving your customers? What is the problem that you are absolutely solving? The next big question is, who are you serving? Who exactly has this problem? Who are all the stakeholders in the community who are affected by what you want to do? Certainly you kind of know what you're doing, but also to take the time to actually put words to describe about your product and service. And most important now is how to look at exactly how you're doing this. How are you delivering your product and service? Because this is a place that I think, particularly in this time of chaos, we have an awful lot changing. And then, of course, the last question, which is important, is why are you doing it? It has to be financially viable. You have to figure out a way to make money, and certainly you have to have a clear idea on your costs. I mean, just to stop there for a second, many of us, of course, have had tremendous disruption with our revenues, and many of us certainly have lost a lot of the income that we had 90 days ago. But it's also, I think, a good exercise to take some time to look at your costs. And you may be surprised to understand that if you're working at home and if you're changing the way of doing more things online, it's very possible that your costs also have gone down very substantially, and that this, as you rebuild, you actually could end up being okay with less revenues because your costs have gone down. Okay, so let's take a look at the business model canvas. If you have taken the time to download the attachment that was in the chat box, you can print this out, and you also will see that there's a second sheet which has all of these boxes which are blank. So let me just take a second to give you a chance to look at this. And this is what we call the questions to the business model canvas. Again, the actual question is that the second document that I'll show you in a second, which is all these boxes blank, and you take a few minutes to fill in how you would describe this about your business. And most important, as you ask yourself these questions, you should be asking, how has this crazy, chaotic time changed your answers to these questions as you come out of this? So again, you start by writing down a clear definition of your problem. I tend to encourage people to do that on the back of this sheet of paper. Once you understand what your problem is, then you start in the middle, which is the value proposition, which is describing exactly how you solve the problem. How are you making yourself valuable to anyone? How are you making yourself essential? What exactly is the solution to the problem? That is where you create value. What is unique about what you're doing? Those are the kinds of things that you would write in what do you do? Now, the next box that you would typically go to is off to the right. Who do you help? And again, I think it's a fantastic time to be thinking about your customer. How has their life changed? Again, if you're a restaurant, what kind of food or experience do people want? Perhaps, money is a little bit harder to earn, so maybe you have to look for less expensive ingredients and lower your costs. It's possible that your customer might be now thinking a lot more about their health after this health crisis, so perhaps your customer is more health conscious. So it's taking some time to think about your customer. What are they feeling right now? Who are they? How has their life changed? Is there a new kind of person who is now your customer? Is it possible that you used to be a place or something that was a great service for all of the people who worked in restaurants? Many of them have left our city. Is it possible that you were someone who that sold things to children or parents, and how drastically their lives changed? So who is your customer now? If it's a business, you have to again think about the business. What has changed in the last 90 days to make that business substantially different? And what is the title of the person that you would typically have been selling to? Is that person still there? Is that still the person that you would sell to? And then, of course, if you're selling to a consumer, it is, again, to be thinking about who that person is. It has a demographic change. Things like child services, a lot more men have gotten involved and taking care of their children. So is it possible that if you're selling things that were beneficial or helpful to children, that actually now you even have the broader opportunity to be including more of the fathers in your offerings? Most important now is, how do you reach them? How are you going to find your customers on the other side? How are you going to sell to them? How are you going to deliver the products to them? How are you going to do the follow-up to be sure that what you sent to them or delivering is working out? Certainly in this time of social distancing, of touchless sort of interactions, it's a total rethink how any of us are going to distribute our information, our service, our products. How do you interact with them? If you used to interact with people one-on-one, certainly you probably now are having primarily an interaction online. Totally different. And thinking about how you are going to stand out in the whole sort of social media world, how are you going to find and build those relationships with customers? I think, again, this is one of the most important things to be thinking about, how you can be special and build a special relationship. Some of the ideas that I shared in my last presentation was the idea of, obviously, of going from analog or a retail space to an online presence. Certainly surveys, calling your customers, asking them how they are. Certainly giving things away for free a bit, giving away advice, sharing some ideas to tell them that you understand their problems, building their relationship right now. I think we all have to realize that people are feeling hopeless, fearful, anxious, and whatever. And any way that you can help them feel hopeful, feel joyful, feeling better about this environment, feeling more connected. It's a very emotional time, and thinking about that consciously of how you are going to connect better with your customers and build that emotional connection is so important. And of course, you have to once again look about in the next 3 months and into next year. How are you going to make money? You have to rethink how you're selling your product. Is there going to have to be maybe more that people pay you in pieces, not all at once? Exactly how will you make money as you come out of this? If we look at this, then we see that the right-hand side of this chart is all about our sort of outer presence, how we're reacting with our customer, how we are going to actually make our money. On the left-hand side, this is more about how you're going to get things done. And it's also very, very important to be really looking at this again. Starting with what are the key activities? Think about what did you stop doing over the last 90 days? Are those things that you could stop forever? What are the things that you started doing in the last 90 days to sort of survive and connect? Are those activities that you could imagine that you will be doing forever? How have your resources changed? Do you really need space? Many offices have come to understand that work from home is doing very well. Many business owners are talking about giving back a lot of their commercial space. Do you need as many people? Do you need the same kind of people? Do you need new people who have more social media experience? What kind of new resources do you need? What resources did you have before, and has that changed? Another thing that I think is really important to be thinking about is who are all of your key partners? Is there a way that your customers can be a partner in selling for you? Is it a time to be talking with some of your vendors, people who are selling the things that you need to make your product? Is there a way for you to be doing joint partnerships? Is there someone who sells something that's close to your kind of service, but isn't exactly the same, that there's a possibility that you can partner and collaborate as we come out of this to share in costs, maybe create something new, maybe solve a customer problem in a new way. And of course, as I said before, it's a time to look at your costs. I think many entrepreneurs are actually getting a little pleasantly surprised about how this environment has led them to really think how they were spending their money, what really is essential, what is unique, what really is the essence of the problem they're solving. So again, it starts with the problem. I cannot say this more over and over again. What is your why? What is it that you have to do? And that clearly is the place that you have to start from. So let me stop here and we can open for any questions that I see there's been some chatting going on. So are there any questions in there? Let's see. I'm sorry, let's see. I'm gonna have to call on people. Can we stay on mute? Okay. Let me see who, let me see. Benson, I'm saying, Keisha, are you?
I will unmute everyone. So people who want to talk, please unmute. Yeah, people who want to talk only if they want to.
Yeah. Okay. So we got. Have you been watching the chat box?
Yeah.
Okay. So do we have questions here?
No, no questions so far.
Okay. Okay, so does anyone have a question? You just take your microphone off. We're a small enough group that we certainly can have answer any live questions. Anyone need help with figuring out what their problem is or how to use this?
Hello. Hello.
Yes. Who is this speaking? Is Powell?
Yes.
Okay, let me shut off Keisha. Let me cut. Yeah, okay, we got it. Okay, Pal, go ahead.
If you have an idea for a product, but you're not exactly sure how to bring it to bring it to fruition, like if it's a mechanical aspect,
yeah.
Like what resources would you recommend for someone to reach out to in order to find someone to help you actually make the product?
Okay, so the first thing I would strongly recommend is to be sure that it's something the world needs. The business model canvas is used regularly at Sprint and with engineers to double check that what you're thinking you want to do really has some validity. So again, I would start with thinking, using a business model canvas, just scribbling down what the problem is you're solving, what the mechanical problem is, your solution, and really encourage you to talk live to maybe 10 to even 50 people, to get their input before you spend time and money. In my experience, I have often seen computer engineers, mechanical engineers, totally getting wrapped up in their own heads and their own way of working, and believing that the way they think about the solution of the problem is right for everyone. A lot of money has been wasted by designing something without constant interaction with the person who could use it. So certainly before you actually find a mechanical engineer or someone who has the technical ability to help you move further on it, I would definitely suggest that you do drawings. If you're thinking of doing an app, that you do wireframes, which are basically drawings of what each page would look like, and really encourage you to talk to at least 10, 20, 30 people who could potentially be using this to make sure how you're thinking about it can be helpful. And then I think probably if you're looking for a mechanical engineer or a computer scientist, certainly reaching out to the engineering schools in the metropolitan area. Many of them have clubs that they're actually looking for opportunities to help. I also would look at meetup.com, and they have many kind of tech groups where people who are offering their services for startups and for engineering services would be a resource to help. So that would be some of my sort of initial ideas if you're thinking of starting something.
Thank you. Also, like, if someone, like, I have an idea, but like, how do I put it down like in an actual business plan so that someone would be willing to actually help?
Yep. Well, it's very well. The word help is an interesting word. I'm sensing that when you're asking me the word help, it's somebody who is an engineer that you might need money to get it done. I will share with you that, again, the business model canvas is the first step to getting that attention. If you design something on paper, if you take the time to go out and talk live to 10, 20, 30 people, and if you can document that if someone helped you, that somebody would buy it, and if you can talk to someone and they will tell you that if you develop this, I would pay X amount of dollars for it, that is the first step in getting someone some help. I also will share with you that if you are creative about going out and showing what you would like to do to 30 to 40 people live, I would guarantee you that in that journey, you will find from those 30 or 40 people that they will help you find an engineer or the next person who can help you on the journey. So help is there, and it starts really by putting whatever you can in writing so people really understand what you're thinking and start talking to people. And the world has an amazing kind of energy to it that if you choose to do this. Let me just ask you something. Just share with me a little bit about the problem you want to solve and who has it.
So I have 2 dogs, right? And one of them, if you feed him at a certain time, he's fine. Like, she'll leave the bowl alone. But my other dog, like, after a certain time, I don't really want that dog eating. So I want to build something in a way that that dog can only eat at a certain time. So all of my friends that are dog owners, they're interested, and I've spoken to a few number of people, but my issue is actually like putting things down on paper. I'm not the best writer. So I'm trying to find like a resource that would assist me with putting it down on paper.
Okay, well that I would
Like I can draw it.
How many dog owners do you know?
At least 20.
Okay, so
I've spoken to about 5 of them.
Okay, so have you been honest in those conversations to actually say that you're looking for somebody to help you, 2 or 3 people, and have you said, are you interested in working with me on getting this, drawings done and whatever?
I haven't really asked. I've been kind of just mowing it over in my head. I've asked them in reference to their use of the product, but I haven't asked anyone to actually sit down and help me produce the product.
So, well, I would, again, continue on your journey of talking to all 20. And I would think about the 3 to 5 who are the most enthusiastic about what you were sharing, or also shared that they had a very similar concern for their dog. And then your next question is, is there any, can you imagine, could you personally help me, or do you know someone who could help me get this into writing? I mean, there are resources in labs that will do prototypes and would push you further, but I have to share with you that you have to find in your own community people to help you at least get to the stage of writing and figuring out who your customer is. You have to at least have that done before you really can get to the next level of someone who would actually do a prototype or a design for you.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. So does anyone else have any questions today?
Yes, hi. This is Sakina.
Hi, Sakina. Good to see you.
Oh,
I don't see you. I see your name.
Group.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
So I just really wanted to thank you again for this great discussion. Definitely, as always, a lot of for thought with things. As you have a business that is focused on planning in the realm of historic preservation. Hello? I'm sorry, I apologize if this connection is not as good.
Yeah, it was coming in and out. You're better now, and I know you're in historic preservation. So you can chat your question, or let's try again. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. It definitely have a lot of food for thought, and as my business, it is a consultancy. So one of the things that I was thinking about, like that I had a question about, you said in your slide that like what kind of resources do you need? And the first resources that you think about is like I need a paying client.
Yeah.
So like,
so again, that's exactly what this exercise is about. You've got I'm also a certified master coach, and one of my other mantras are that if you think about something that you want to have happen, or you get clear in your mind that your next goal, or you see that your key resources is a famous person, that's going to get you started to making it happen. But the world is a very crazy place. I guarantee you, again, that if you take the time to start writing things down, having very specific goals, even having it up on your mirror, that one of the most important things potentially for you to do to very substantially change your business is to find one famous or very high profile person. The universe has a very strange way of delivering that once you become really focused on that.
Yeah. And so I think that, like, as I was working through that exercise, is like, yeah, we all want to be paid for what we do. And I was thinking, well, maybe it's time to really like as I was doing the exercise to really scale that or to make it more tangible.
Yeah. I just think the questions are all very important right now in this crazy time. And I like the simplicity of it. And I think even just taking a scribbly kind of a pencil, just scribbling in each of them and doing it over a course of a few days. I mean, one of the other things that I strongly believe is that you're listening to this presentation tonight, your brain is actually going to be working on this canvas while you're sleeping. So I would suggest that, early tomorrow morning when you wake up, that you just print, all of you might consider printing one out, and I guarantee you're going to be surprised about what comes into your brain, because your brain is working on those things tonight. So I think you're going to be in our group on Thursday night, Sabrina, and I'd love to hear how far you get by Thursday.
Okay, definitely look forward to sharing. Thank you.
Anyone else who has some suggestions or thoughts on this crazy process, or any other questions about? Okay, I think, Delia, I see you've joined us. Do you want to say anything?
Hi. No, thank you so much. Yeah, I joined at the latter part. I ran over with the client. No, from what I saw, it was great. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, you'll pick up a little bit on this on Thursday too, so that's terrific. Okay, so again, I'd like to remind everyone that I actually will be repeating this. Every time I do this presentation, I actually do it differently. So if this started your thinking and you have time on Tuesday morning, July 14th at 10 o'clock in the morning, it actually can be totally different because I have a little bit of a morning energy. So it may go a different direction. So you're welcome to join us again Tuesday. I'd like to also remind you that I will be doing another exercise that's going to be working on one-page business plan and what's known as the traction model of really getting crystal clear of what you have to do in the next year, and also again very focused on what should be in writing. That webinar will be done on August 4th at 10 o'clock in the morning and repeated on August 5 at 6. And then I also again would welcome those of you who are not part of our first fantastic peer group that we've launched last week. We will be starting another group that will be meeting on Tuesday evenings. If you're interested in just coming to an information session without any obligation, but just have a half hour, 45-minute opportunity to hear more of the details of what I suggest happens in those groups, the group actually creates the energy, but I would share on the evening of July 21st at 6 o'clock. I'll be talking for about a half hour what our goals would be in starting a second group. And then we would hope to launch that on Tuesday, July 28th or August 4th. And the goal would be, it's an accountability group that basically every other week you'll be sharing with your fellow 8 to 9 women entrepreneurs, business owners, what really is important for you to get done. And when you get stuck on getting them done, we all will be there to help you move forward. Again, my mantra, if you think you have something you have to do, getting clear in your mind is going to help you get there. If you write it down and put it on front of you in the mirror every morning, you're going to probably increase by 100%. But I guarantee you that if you start telling other people, particularly 8 to 10 other fantastic women business owners, that you must get this done, you will get the support to move forward. So it's extremely, particularly in this time where we're all kind of distanced and not connected, we're really offering you this opportunity to come together with a fantastic group of women just to really help us grow, taking over. I really, really personally believe that women's entrepreneurship and innovation and leadership is so needed as we come out of this. And I know from my own experience of having my own group of women entrepreneurs that we met once a month for 20 years. It absolutely was probably the most important thing in my own entrepreneurial success. So hope to see you again, and wishing everyone great success this week. I hope that at least there's one thought of one thing that you really would like to do, that when you heard those questions, that there was something it triggered. So I really hope that there's at least one thing that you got out of this evening that you will be acting on that'll make your business better. Have a great evening, and I hope to see you again at our future gatherings.